Awesome. So you got a bright light in your face? That's wicked.
I do. I don't know why I have a bright light in my face, but I do. So we're just going with it. We're going with it. I'm going to try not to talk with my hands because I talk with my hands a lot. So when you see the bright light flying around, it's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think there's a bright light shining on you for a reason, lady. I just have to say that. We are live. I think we're live now, streaming off your phone, off our business page, off Zoom, off regular Facebook. So whatever platform you're watching us on, guys, hi. I have the liberty tonight to interview Caressa, and Caressa is a huge inspiration. I've known her now a year and a half, which is incredible. I can't believe how fast time has flown by for us, lady. Congratulations on your recent embarkment onto this journey full time, which is awesome. So happy for you. What did your friends and family think?
Well,
there we go with this one.
I would say I had a little bit of both. You know, I definitely have some friends, some wonderful friends, and some wonderful family members who support me 100% in any crazy venture that I decide to embark on ever. And then, of course, I have the ones who think I'm right out of my mind. And then, you know, and then there were some that I really just didn't even tell for quite some time. Because I was trying to figure it out. I always say I pretty much lived my life on flying on a wing and a prayer. So, you know, I just kind of dove in, and yeah, there were a lot of people that had no idea. There are people still, well, I guess the world's knowing now, but there were people, you know, who really didn't know what I was doing or weren't quite sure. I think a lot of people just don't understand it. So even the ones who supported me didn't understand it, but the people who weren't as supportive, I do believe it's because they just don't get it.
Totally.
And that's okay. As long as I get it, it's okay.
Totally, for sure. No, it's awesome. You look like you should be in Star Wars right now. I just have to say. With the light beam, it's pretty cool.
I know.
I love it. It's awesome.
I have a lightsaber.
Oh, it's so great. So, sorry, Caressa is in Pennsylvania, and I'm up here in Kelowna, Canada, and it's incredible that, you know, we're managed to be able to do this stuff. We did try and go live earlier here, guys. We did. We just had a couple tech difficulties, which shows we have to be savvy. Oh, what was your job before this? Before you started on the online, what were you doing?
Well, I've been a hairstylist this was my 25th year in that career. Actually, this year that 2019 started my 25th year, and it's crazy to even say that. And I've had a lot of other jobs on the side. I have, you know, always worked second jobs, you know, just trying to make ends meet to get by. So I spent a lot of years waitressing and a lot of years cleaning all kinds of places, mansions and ski resorts and houses, and, you know, scrubbing toilets for somebody else is never that much fun, but, you know, it pays the bills. So you do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, totally.
But definitely living in the hairstyle world was the life that I knew for a very long time. You know, that was my career. That was what I considered myself to be and what I was known as.
Well, for sure. You told me the story briefly, but what job was it where you were doing this job and you were thinking like, oh my gosh, there's got to be more to life? When did that happen? Do you remember?
That I do remember. I remember that day. Honestly, I remember that day. I was at a cleaning job, And it was a Tuesday, and I still had a full week at the salon to put in, and I was in the middle of cleaning, and as I'm on my hands and knees scrubbing someone else's floor in this beautiful mansion, you look out at the views and it's crazy, and I'm scrubbing toilets and floors, and I scrubbing the floor, and I just kind of thought to myself, like, I sat back on my feet, and I just kind of thought, like, is this all I'm meant for? Like, seriously, is this all that I deserve out of life? Is this what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life? Is, bust my butt, killing my body, my hands, my knees, for what? To scrub someone else's toilet? Is that really the purpose, my sole purpose in life? I was like, no way, there has got to be more. And in that moment, I was so determined to find it.
That's awesome, lady. For those of you jumping on, she's not in Star Wars, okay? She's not Peter Pan. She's live off Facebook here, and we had it live streaming in a whole bunch of places, so she's actually recording live. So welcome, everyone. Just pop your name in and scroll if you're watching this. That's awesome, Cressa, that you had that moment, that, like, being in the hamster wheel, and I can relate to that totally, working multiple jobs, and you just, like, one job to the next, to the next, to the next, wondering, like, is there going to be something else? Is there going to be something better? And your story, I mean, I didn't go into huge detail. Obviously, it's up to you to share, but you went through a lot. Like, you did. Since you were 14, you've gone through a lot.
Yep. It's been a crazy ride. I always say, what a long, strange trip it's been, right? It's just my whole life, I guess I could say, the majority of it. I mean, believe me, I found the good where there was good to be found, but definitely was struggles, a lifetime of it. Yes, I became a mother at a very young age. So at 14, I had my daughter. And it's funny because at the time, for as hard as it was, to me, there was no other choice. And just probably about, I'm going to say 10, 15 years ago, a friend of mine had made some comment to me about, being proud of me, of making it through these struggles, and how strong I was and whatever. And I kind of said, well, I didn't have a choice. And he looked at me and said, but you did. And, all those years, I never thought that way. So yeah, it was definitely, trust me when I say there were definitely struggles. Wasn't easy, wasn't easy making my, sorry, I have things popping up. I'm trying to get rid of there. Wasn't, wasn't easy, just, whatever. Yeah, you don't have to be tech savvy to get this, guys. Trust me.
No.
So yeah, it was. I spent years. Let's just say I spent years struggling, living from place to place wherever I had to, working where I had to make ends meet, just to just to get by, to be able to feed my daughter and put diapers on her butt, and and keep going. And I think because of that, it made me a much stronger person. It made her a strong person, even though she was so little. She didn't know all the real struggles and hardships that we went through, as I was raising her. And I'm not saying that I even made the best choices in life. God knows I didn't. But you know what? I did the best that I could do with what I had and what I knew at the time. And so, I went from one train wreck to another, I guess I should say. But there was all good that came out of it. There's always a silver lining. There's always a message in a mess. There's always something beautiful to be found from it. And so, she today is a beautiful, very talented, very strong woman herself. And I'm very proud of her. but I did end up in a very bad relationship through that, and was silly enough to hang out there for about 20 years. And that was kind of abusive in every sense of the word. But I got a beautiful son out of it, who also is a very strong human being. Um, and there were a lot of struggles. There was, through that relationship, I had to work 2 and sometimes 3 jobs just to support, a family of 4 and try to raise my kids and try to be there as much as I could. But I missed out on a lot. And I also held them back from a lot of things that they wanted to do because I couldn't be there to get them to those things. When kids want to play sports and they want to do this and they want to go here, I didn't have the time. I didn't have the time to put in to take them to places. So, that is definitely a regret of mine, that I had to hold them back from some things, because even though I had a spouse, I was still like a single parent. So, they didn't get to do all the things that they necessarily wanted to do. But long story short, we survived that. We got out of that and we moved on. And, the road has been rocky, a roller coaster throughout my life. It really has. And, but you know what? I absolutely, when I got out of that, I bought a house, and almost everybody in my world, I won't say everybody, but just about, probably 99% of the people said, again, you were out of your damn mind. No matter what choices I make, most people say that. But I felt that I needed to prove that to myself. I didn't need anybody to help me. I didn't need anybody to hold me up. And I needed to prove to myself that I was a strong enough human being to do that. And I did. And, and I'm glad I did. And, yeah, so I don't know. I moved on from there. Once I became a strong enough, working on myself on the inside, not as strong as I am today, but I was getting there. Then I ended up, the right person came along. The right things started to fall into my life. You know what I mean? It really, when you get right with yourself and you do what resonates with your soul, things start coming to you. Things really start falling together. And, now I'm married to the most wonderful man that I really never dreamed that could even be a possibility for me. That could happen to other people. That kind of fairy tale ending can happen to other people, but it'll never be for me. That was my attitude my whole life. But it did happen to me. So for all you people out there who tell yourself that, guess what? Knock it off, because it can happen. You just need to believe it. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a whole long story in itself, but I'll save that story for another time. But I do love telling that story, because it kind of, to me, it is like the fairy tale that I never thought I could have. So yeah, we've had, life has thrown us ups and downs as well. I don't know how far you want me to go through my life, Jen, but there's been a lot of turbulence through that as well.
Totally. You
Sorry, I had to take
have like this glow about you and this energy, and you're always so optimistic to hear like the actual what happened to you and how you got there and how you overcame things and your mindset and stuff. What you said about finding, like, you were in such a treacherous relationship at one point, and we're trying to survive, literally just trying to feed your kids, right? So now what you've become and the person that you attracted in your life, like, we'll touch upon that. But yeah, if you want to continue on and talk about that story, go ahead. I'm sure everyone would love to hear it.
I could talk forever. I'm one thing I'm really good at is talking. I am good at listening, but I'm really good at talking. Yeah. So, like I said, I took the time to get right with myself. And I'll be honest, when I bought this house and I had to prove it to myself, I thought, what the hell are you doing? And how are you going to do this? And I cried every night for the first 3 months because I was panicked. I didn't know how I was going to survive again. But I've always known one thing: I am a survivor. And no matter what, I'll make it work. I'll do whatever I have to do to make it work. So, so I was about a year and a half into working on myself and totally being okay with being alone for the rest of my life and figuring it out. My husband, my husband now, the wonderful one, we have actually been friends since we were kids. So we were about 8 years old or so. And we've carried on this wonderful friendship throughout the years. But, people come and go. You don't see them all the time. You might run into them, every now and again, whatever. So we had remained friends, but we really didn't see each other very often. So long story short, I was having a mental breakdown, and go figure. And I ended up reaching out to him to just to talk as someone to talk to get me through that hardship that I was going through at the time. Just because he was someone that I had trusted my whole life. And we did, and that went wonderful. And he made me a birthday dinner, and we talked like we had always talked for the last 30 plus years of our life, and no big deal. And when I left that day, when I went to walk out, he gave me a hug just like he always does, and I knew in that moment he was the one I would spend the rest of my life with. And I ran out the door. And I cried all the way home, hitting my steering wheel, saying, "You're crazy. It's not going to happen. There's no way." And yes, I tried to fight it for a while. But anyway, he was patient, and he said, "You do what you got to do, and I'll be here waiting for you when you got it figured out." So thank God for him and his patience. Yeah, so it's been years now, and things are wonderful. But we had been together a couple of years, and a year after we got married, not even quite a year, about 2 months shy of our 1 year anniversary, he then was in a very bad car accident. And that was definitely a life altering, and a very emotional, very hard thing to go through. So anybody who knows us in our personal life knows that story. I won't get so much into that, but it's been 4 years now, and it's been 4 years of a very hard road for him, for us, for life in general. So okay, I talk so much. Let me back up slightly. Before that happened, and we got together, I have to say that for the first time in my life, again, anyone who knows me knows this, I was spoiled. I only had to work one job. Things were easy. And I was living. Honestly, I felt like I was living for the first time in my life. And I'm a pretty simple person. So doing things like, going for a motorcycle ride, going kayaking, going for a hike, you know what I mean? Those simple gardening, whatever, those simple little things that I had really spent a lifetime of not being able to do those things because I was always so busy taking care of somebody else, or working so hard to make ends meet so that everyone else would be taken care of. So when I got to that point and I didn't have to do that anymore, it was crazy. It was wonderful. And yeah, and not, a couple of years into it, that was quickly taken away in an instant. So it was back to, working 2 jobs again, and just, back to the struggle, back to the grind, back to doing what you had to do. And I felt terrible because I couldn't be home. You know, I never, sorry, I keep looking at my phone to make sure I'm still filming what's actually on the screen. So I really was beating myself up, and I think I got into a pretty big depression at one point in time, because I was never home. You know, I get home at 9 o'clock at night, and that's when I sit down to eat dinner with him. And he, he was home, you know what I mean, and waiting patiently till 9 o'clock at night to eat dinner when I got home. And I felt terrible leaving him alone all the time. I felt terrible that I, couldn't have family dinners with my children. I couldn't really have the time to visit with my grandkids, or, have them come over anymore, because I was so busy working all the time again. And like I said, I did it because I was used to it. It was what I had spent a lifetime doing, but definitely not what any of us want. So yeah, I was looking for something different, and being in that depressed, stressed out, at the end of my rope, one foot dangling over the edge of the cliff, was the day that I sat back on my feet and said, I can't do this anymore. There has got to be something more.
Totally. Quite a story. It's incredible for people who are watching this for a couple counts. One, being able to escape what you escaped and starting over. A lot of people would love to be able to do that, but they're scared. They don't know how to do it. They don't have the strength to do it. The second thing is your survivor mentality. Like, you just keep going. Like, whether you want to do 2-3 jobs or not, you keep going. And that's something to definitely be proud of, Caressa. Like, give yourself a pat on the back for that you had that, and your kids are going to look at that like, wow, she pushed through for us. You did. And that's freaking awesome. The other thing too, obviously, is that you didn't give up to the point where you closed yourself off. Like, you wouldn't have met the man of your dreams. I know how close you guys are. I know how fond of each other you guys are. And you wouldn't have done that if you didn't allow yourself to have that again. So just those 3 things alone, from what I took out of your story, are amazing. It's so memorable. And it explains your success now. It also explains how you're just going to continue to gain more and more success as you go along, because you've built those blocks. So good job, lady. Like, freaking awesome. What do you think has been, you had the foundation. I know you were working on mindset. I know you were working on, bettering yourself and becoming stronger after what you've gone through. What are some of the key takeaways that you've gone or gained maybe in the last year and a half that have really helped you as far as, being online?
Well, I've come leaps and bounds in my mindset and my personal development. I know I have. I mean, I worked, many years. There were years in the past where it was, you kept moving forward and you did what you had to do, but there was a huge part of me definitely that was closed off. Very non-trusting person I was. But then, when I did really start trying to work on myself and open myself to love again, or, just open myself to even not just love from my husband, but from my friends or my family, I worked on that. But in the last year, it's just been different. Like, I think I was trying to work on myself before, but maybe I really didn't know how. I mean, I went to counseling, I read a lot of books or tried listening to some motivational stuff, but maybe I wasn't quite finding what I really needed to crack myself open. So probably in the last year and a half, definitely the books, The Magic, #1 book, and I know you can vouch for this too, Jen.
Oh, yeah.
Life changing. I bought a copy for my best friend. I went to the store to get one for my son. I have tried to buy so many people that book, and every time I go to the store, they don't have it. So I just need to order a bunch of them. But anyway, life changing. So, you know, I thought that I was a grateful person. You know what I mean? I tried to be a grateful person for, you know, the good, finding the good things in my life. Like I said, regardless of all of this, you know, to still have people that you love surrounding you and, you know, some support, even if it's one person, you know what I mean? Whatever, just to have that. I always try to be grateful, but until I read the magic and did those practices, I didn't really get it. So that, number one, really cracked me open. So definitely everybody out there that's listening right now, go get the magic. So that was huge. But there were definitely a lot of books. I've read so many, not just motivational books, but personal development, you know, things that cracked me open in different ways. And I have listened to so many, you know, audiobooks, podcasts. But within our community, there are people who really resonate, you know what I mean, with my soul. And there are some people that just by sitting back and listening to them, you know, really makes you think about yourself and really helps you crack open. I've also gone through, you know, different coaching sessions with some of the people within our community who really teach you how to dig deep in there. And I just, for instance, probably about a month ago, I did one of those with someone within our community who is just amazing. And it really made me look at the shame and the guilt that I still carry with me today. Do you know what I mean? So there were things that I really thought that I worked on, that I cracked open, that I let go in the past. I'm huge in trying to, you know, even if somebody you don't think they deserve the forgiveness, you need to forgive, because it's only hurting yourself, and you need to let it go in the past.
Or the victim.
And trying hard to watch my mom.
Right? Like there's.
Yes, exactly.
So many people have had things happen, and one of the things that, like, you know, nobody asks for things. Nobody asks for ill things to happen in their life. But, you know, there is a point where it's like, what part of it was your responsibility? And to think that is scary, right? But there is that point. So it is. It's
right. And I find myself asking all the time, like I ask myself all the time now, what part did I play in that? You know, it could go back to, you know, the 20 years I spent in that relationship, in that situation. I gave my power away. Mm-hmm. So yes, I am to blame too. You know, we can't just point the finger at everybody else out there and it's their fault and they did this to me and they made me do this. No. What part did you play in it? And I gave my power to someone. I allowed someone to have control over me. You know, I could have taken that back any day. It took me a long time to realize that and to take that back and, you know, step through that fear. But, you know, I definitely am realizing now, as in this last year and a half, of how much I thought I fixed, but I didn't. You know what I mean? And how to truly dig that deep to face all of that shame and that guilt and acknowledge it, because it's okay to feel it, but then to let it go, you know?
Totally. That's exactly it. I mean, I know I've been to a couple of times that have been just this month alone, and it's insane, like what you dig up and how you change and how it really like gets you raw. It's incredible. I know, like, even starting out in this online world, and you can say you've been in this a year and a half now. I think Laura was watching on here. I actually met you through Laura. So, hey, Laura.
Hi, Laura. We love you. Thank you.
Laura. Were you looking at her like, you obviously resonated with her? Now it took you a while. It took you like a few months to decide to do this. And why was that, do you think? Do you think it has anything to do with what happened to you, or do you think you were just being overly cautious, or there was something that kept pulling you so you eventually decided to, but what was it that was holding you back?
Definitely. Well, first of all, I think I resonated with her because she's real. You know what I mean? She is, and I know I need to watch my mouth on this, but she is a badass. And and she's real. And I loved that about her. And that was why I resonated with her. And when I reached out, she wasn't pushy. She was just real. And she talked to me like a human, and she explained what she could explain, and she was like, I'm here to chat anytime you want to. And I think because of that, it did keep pulling me back, but I was super skeptical. Like I said before, I think part of, because of my past, I was a very non-trusting person. And that goes into so many, every realm of my life, I was non-trusting. And I don't know the first thing about technology. I didn't. Shouldn't say I don't now, I do, but I didn't. And so to me, it was such an unheard world. Do you know what I mean? Unheard of. So the reason I was even looking was because I wanted to be home more. I did not want to be spending the rest of my life eating dinner with my husband at 9 o'clock at night. I didn't want to be gone 7 days a week working 2 jobs. I wanted to be home more. And I don't mind working. I don't mind putting in the work. I've always done it. I've always felt that I needed to work hard, which I'm trying to work on that too. But I've always felt like, I have to be physically working hard and almost hurting myself to earn that income, to earn a living in order to make it worth it, or make myself deserving of it. So I resonated with her, and I wanted to be home. I was looking for a way, had no idea, didn't even know what I was looking for. Just looking for a way to have a revenue stream coming from being able to be home, being able to work from home. And I knew people in the bank world worked online. I knew that there was a thing called blogging, but I had no idea what that stuff was. And I knew people could do medical records at home. And that was pretty much the extent of it. Anyone who knows me can totally vouch for this, that it was a nightmare to get me to get a smartphone. And if you try to make me get a new smartphone now, it is an issue. I have a meltdown because I always considered myself technology illiterate. It is a struggle. It is a big struggle. So to do anything in the online world, I was petrified of. And I actually reached out to one of my daughter's friends who works online and said, "Is this legit? Is this a scam? Am I doing the right thing? Should I even, can people do this?" And he laughed at me, of course, and said, "Yes, you absolutely can." Yeah. And because he was someone that I personally knew, and he was vouching for it, even though he was not in this community, he was not doing what we do online. He was running a different type of business online, but he could vouch for it's what people do. It's the way of the world now. So I took that to heart, and that really was what finally got me to be trusting enough to say, I finally said, what do I have to lose? It's either keep doing what I'm doing. The definition of insanity is, continuously doing the same thing you're doing and expecting a different result, right? So where was I going? I had to do something different or nothing was going to change.
Totally. The thing is too, like you said, working hard, and I mean, you were working as a hairdresser, constantly running around, constantly on your feet, serving, that is hard work. Cleaning houses, like that's probably one of the hardest jobs. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people think that. A lot of people, my parents' generation up, to my generation, we think that way, that you've got to be working hard, you've got to be putting in long hours. And that's really not the case. And people always hear of the whole working smart. Yeah, you can work smart. If you align your goals and you align to what you want, you don't have to work that hard, because it's just naturally comes to you, just like it did with your relationship, just like this business did. You basically manifested your destiny, which is incredible. Going forward, now is like clean running. You get to basically paint your own life, which is amazing. What are 2 goals that you have this set this year, Caressa? What do you want to accomplish? Have you thought about it? Have you got detailed on it?
This year, for sure, building our dream home. We put our house up for sale, sold it, packing. Everything is in shambles right now. So it's been a very stressful, crazy time at the moment. But definitely our goal is to get our dream home going. Start building on that, and hopefully be in by the holidays. That is number 1 goal. And really, I guess, the other number 1, well, I have so many. I definitely want to travel. We definitely want to take a trip. But first and foremost is building an empire with my business online, hands down. So, because, then I can travel. I can work from where I want. I can work from my dream home. So that's definitely, focusing on that. And yeah, those are my biggest goals to finish out for this year. Take at least 1 trip, get my dream home done, and build a crazy ass empire.
That's awesome. And the best thing about this business too is the idea that we can travel and work where we want to. And there's constant events. Like, I know you're in Pennsylvania, I'm out here in Canada. We've had them in between. We've had them in Toronto. We got them in Vegas, Orlando, Australia. So if that is your goal to travel, there's absolutely places you're going to meet tons of people along the way. Fantastic. Thank you for taking the time, Caressa, and coming on here and sharing your story. I know there's lots of people watching on all different platforms, including your lightsaber phone there, which is awesome.
Yes.
If you're watching on replay, send her a message. This woman is amazing. So many people have related and can relate to your story, and she will absolutely set you up in the right direction. And I'm super excited for you going forward. Like, I can't even begin to describe how happy I am to have you in my life. Laura has you in her life. So many other people we've talked to today. So it's awesome. What's one thing that we can end this with, just that you wish you could tell people? One piece of advice that you know is true to you, that you just want to leave this on so that people know, hey, look, this is awesome. I'm awesome. You're awesome. What would be the best piece of advice you could offer people?
We're all awesome. Well, first, I want to say that, yes, for anyone who, feel free to private message me, whether it's, no matter what it's on. If it's on something personal, if anything I said tonight struck a nerve and you just want to talk to somebody or need help through any struggle in your life, feel free to reach out. But I guess my best advice is start to believe you're worth it. Mm-hmm. That was one of my hardest things to reach, to get to that point. And I still struggle with that and work on that daily. But to really believe that you deserve it and you are worth it. Because, we're our own worst critics, and we spend so much time beating ourselves up or thinking it can happen to everybody else, but it can never happen to us because, whatever limiting beliefs we have built up over a lifetime. And once you start to believe that you are worth it and you deserve it, you start breaking through those walls. And like you said, you can start manifesting things in your life that you only ever dreamed about before. But you 110% can make them your reality. Trust me when I tell you, life does not have to be what it is right now today in your world. You can completely change your world.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's awesome advice, Krista. I mean, you say it so much better than I do. You're so much more articulate, so it's perfect. One thing I would say, I got into this journey and I had no idea what I was doing, just like you said, you had no idea, you trusted, you knew there was a way to do it. But to actually have control of your life is amazing. To actually know that you get to design your life exactly the way you want. There's no people controlling you. It's a journey, not a destination. So enjoy the ride. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I know it's like late on your part of the world. Teresa, congratulations, woman. Crush this out. Crush this year out. You still have like a good 9 months left, I think, of 2019. So keep rocking it. For all of you guys who have any questions, let her know. Reach out to this woman. She's amazing. And yeah, we'll see you online.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys. But like I said before, trust me, you can make anything happen. I never thought I would walk away from a career after 25 years to do what I want to do. So you can make your dreams happen. Thank you, Jen, for having me out tonight. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great night, guys. Awesome. Much love to you all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.